I'm particularly interested, of course, to hear how you're finding them.
I've been finding them helpful, but I think what I've been realizing is that as I've been thinking about hamstrings to the back of the knees, that somehow I'm dragging my pelvis, and thinking about knees forward and away and all that, that somehow I'm dragging my pelvis down with my, I'm not making a clear separation between the leg muscles and all that. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on. And then I'm also a little confused about my feet, I think. Sometimes I feel that I get better coordination if I'm more balanced on the balls of my feet, sometimes on the legs. I think a lot of this just has to do with leg misuse.
I'm intrigued by the hamstring ones. Did you pick up on the fact that we've reversed that pull as well and taken it?
No, I did not.
That's your missing link then now.
Yeah. So that makes sense to me, because as I experiment with releasing that twinge in my lower back, and I use the side of a sofa or something to send my lower legs up and away from the ankles. If I lengthen back from the knees, then I can release forward and up. But if I do it in the opposite direction, I'm dragging myself down.
Yeah, I think you must, because I know you were in one of the early sessions where I was discussing this, and there's been a few sessions with different groups, and it's sort of refined as we've gone along. And I was doing it with a teacher I was giving lessons, private lessons to, and we suddenly realized that this one, of course, pins you down. Whereas if you think it the other way, it then ties into here up to the top of the sternum. So you've got both the pinning down of the pelvis, but coming up out. And then you don't need the two directions, because when Jando taught me that one, I then put with it my lift the heel and let it come down and think the up. But once you think the pull in the other direction, you don't need to add that extra step.
The other thing about that's interesting, Penelope, is that if we think about the Thomas Myers superficial back line and the initial thinking that you had us do, soles of the feet up the back of the legs, to the back of the knees, up to the sitting bones, up to T8, it follows that flow, which is very freeing.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So so I'd always, because it's one thing, you can find that pull standing, taking that down, but you can't move with it because it's rooted you. And as you say, it then pulls you in half, and it doesn't flow. Whereas take it the other direction. You want to stand up and have a quick go? Just to. Yeah. So you're thinking that the posterior iliac spines round to the anterior iliac spines, with the fact that that also opens the bum. I take it you're aware of that, and then taking that backs of the knees up to the sitting bones, and then up to the top of the sternum, or up to T8, whichever you want, or both. How's that?
That feels a lot better. The top of the sternum, if I think there, it lightens my arms.
Yes, yes, yes. And the other one, which will be very much springboarding off today, is that when we do this pull, it actually automatically rotates the medial ankle in and back. Is that something everybody can pick up on? Is that something you can pick up on, Aida? Yeah, okay. And then, because, again, this is widening, if this is really widening across the back, it then seems to pull in this counter rotating of the thighs which means that actually with this one pull, it's actually bringing in all the leg muscles, all the leg spirals in one go. Yeah, you can find that, Kazuki. Can anyone else find that? Yeah, Aida?
But don't we want an outward spiral here?
Yes, yes, and that's rather the magic of it, that this is spiraling the inner legs. Now, if you let this go too far in, then it will take those in. But if you think of this as coming out, then it's actually somehow, it's pulling the lower leg that way, but it's actually working into the gluteus. I think it works into the gluteus maximus here, into the top of the glute max. And that, of course, is then externally rotating. Does that make sense anatomically? Micah?
I just had some difficulties with a group when I was introducing the lower pulls and then sending this upline from the back of the knees up. And they were actually ending up pulling the lower backs into an arch by doing that.
Yes.
So it was just not working. And I had to really work with this up-down line in both directions equally. Yes. to balance that. I mean, it's I think, I mean, we want gravity and anti-gravity to flow equally through the body. So it's really looking for what is actually needed, I think, or I feel, with that group.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's probably easiest to teach it in that direction because it makes more logical sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if one teaches it in that direction and then says, okay, now think it in the other direction, because the muscle is pulling.
Yeah. I was just playing with sending the heels down and then from there finding this upline of the back of the leg, but really keeping it both directions equally.
Yes, I agree. But it's changing our, I mean, to me, it's changing our thinking slightly, because we've tended to think of the upline just as a direction, whereas now we're actually understanding this upline as inviting a muscle to tone up.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Well, what is a direction? I mean, this is something that's just occurring to me right now. What is a direction? You know, what is happening on a direction? And if I'm sending an upline up from the backs of my knees to my sitting bones, what that direction is an invitation to the muscle to work.
Mm-hmm.
So directions aren't just, you know, I don't know, that they are actually invitations for muscle tone. Is this, I mean, it's just, that's a light bulb that's gone on in my head just now. Does that make sense to anyone else? Or am I saying something obvious here? Sarah?
No, I think it's perfect, because I was embarrassed to say, you know, especially with this directions in the back of the legs. Oh, am I supposed to be feeling or doing something because I can think it, but I don't really, it's not like this one that's, you know, very firm pull, and I can, but now that you say that, it kind of makes me be a little assured that with the thought, there is a tone that is, you know, it's triggering a certain muscle tone. I'm sorry, it's loud here. That just the thought is creating that, triggering that muscle. I lost my train of thought, but yes, it does make sense, Penelope.
That's a nice way of putting it. Directional thought triggers muscle tone. Now, that might come out of the fact that we are being present to the muscle as well, because there's, I mean, I think there's evidence that if one is present to a muscle, you actually invite it to engage. So that makes sense in itself. And we're not just being present to it, but we're being present to it saying, you know, go that way. Which again, and we are going with the official direction of the muscle now. Yeah, Micah.
Yeah, I totally agree to what Sarah says and you say, but but always with this very cautious, well, not cautious, but really with a constant awareness in keeping the mind and the brain, because it's when I'm saying this to pupils, it's going to awaken muscle tone or engage muscle tone, which I actually absolutely feel. Yeah, the hamstrings are getting so engaged if I think these directions there. But if I go there, then it's so easy to look for the feeling, right? To look for the feeling, and oh yeah, now I got the muscle tone. And the same with the arm pulls. So it's so easy to do too much. I mean, it's the old game of how to get out of the way. It's always the same principle. And this is why I think this constructive resting thing is so important to let people really do that consequently. And then I also do it in standing and sitting to explain them what proprioception means and to how to let the body find the original link for themselves to and it's so difficult for them to, or for me, for everyone, to get out of the way and really send the email and not go after it and looking for the effect. It's so difficult. Yeah.
Because again, I mean, this direction, the hamstrings direction, it is part of the whole superficial back line. And if we just go to the part, we will miss that with our thoughts. We will then disable the integrative aspect of it. Whereas if we stay with mind in the brain and think that directional thought, we will automatically bring it into the bigger picture, I suspect. Yeah. Kazuki.
And I want to add one thing. In hamstring direction, the direction toward the hip joints and direction towards the back of the knees, both act in the same time. That stabilizes the movement, I think. So in sitting and in standing up, both direction working. So we easily move.
Yes, you're saying that the direction is actually going both ways.
Yes. That works to stabilize the movement.
Yes, no, I think that's very true, that if we only think directions in one direction, I mean, this is why it's interesting to play with reversing them, because I think you're right, both are always happening. Yeah, and that does bring stability. One of my classmates, when I was training, because the focus being McDonald training was so much about going up, going up, going up. And this woman said to me one day, do you think one day we'll take off? Do you think we'll fly? And that's really missing the fact that when up is happening, down is happening too, which I couldn't quite, I knew somehow she wasn't right, but I didn't know why at the time. But thinking about it, it's you have to have the down, and that's why we don't fly. Yeah. Okay. Hannes.
Yeah, and I would say so. I absolutely appreciate the searching for a formula which is more easy. We talked in the beginning, as we've been just two in the meeting, to look for a formula which is more integrated, or it's integrating all the others, so that if I got the stuff, I did the work on the details, I can have it without giving directions for a minute or more to be able to act. So this is what we definitely need. But as Michael said, it's the old getting out of the way. So I mean, it's teaching. So, and it's learning where my pupils are and what they need. and to go to do all the steps. And it's really like teaching music. So as I know how to play a Mozart sonata, I cannot teach it to a beginner. It's not possible. So, and we have to do all this. So, and in music, everybody tells you need the imagination in your head of the sound. And it's developing, and it's developing over the years. And as you get older, it's still developing. And so as I was young, everybody was talking about it, and I wondered, how can you do it? So, and someday it's just there. And I think it's very, yeah, so all the dimensions, it's wonderful in your book because you're open to all, you say it's so many elements in the work, and we need them all.
Yes. And, you know, it took me a while before I realized what Jando was saying when he said, you know, neck free, head forward and up, back lengthen and widen is the end result of what we're looking for. It's not the process to get there. And we're given it as the process to get there, and it isn't. There's a hell of a lot more steps.
Yeah. And this can happen to us, as we say, PSIS round to ASIS is a new neck free. And we're just teaching this and want to, so it's just being lazy as a teacher that we think I found a formula and I can teach it and maybe make lots of money off it. It will not work the same way.
Oh, you never know. Go for it. Yes. Okay, so on that theme, we're going to work on waking up the legs today and leg strength. So we're going to do some gentle stuff. We're going to do some strong stuff. Take it as strong or as gentle as you need. Don't feel you need to apologize if you only do it by half. It's fine. Or go for the full whammy if you're up for it. Let's just, everybody okay, ready to start? That's, yeah. So let's just start as ever with standing, and you will need a wall. Let's just, before you go any further, just work out which wall you're going to use. You'll need a wall in a minute. Okay, good. So we'll start away from the wall, but just checking that you've got your wall ready to go. We'll also need just an ordinary chair. And what else will we need? We'll need our yoga mats. Don't need dog toys on the floor. Right. Oh, and you'll need a pile of books. We're going to do a book path. So a pile of 10 books. Paperbacks. Okay, well, let's just start by spatial awareness. Let's just find the nose feather. Coming to quiet presence. Just being aware of what you're looking at one end of the nose feather and you're at the other end. Being aware of the space in between. And of the colors and the textures that your feather is brushing over. Or for those who don't like imagery, you're just being aware of the space of what the eyes are receiving at one end and, well, the sort of where your attention is. and you across the space. So that relationship between yourself and what you're seeing across the space. And seeing from the back of the head. Everything is in spatial relationship to everything else. You've got the world, the peripheral vision, the depth vision, the sense of the world behind you. And taking in what you can hear as well. Just receiving it spatially. Not in your head, but from across where it is. And then just adding in the awareness of the body breathing. And somewhere underneath the head and up from the feet. Breathing is happening. Just allowing that long out breath, the easy in breath. It moves down the body. Right to the pelvic floor. Being aware of the pelvic floor broadening with the in-breath. And deepening down and coming back and up on the out-breath. Following the diaphragm. Maybe you're aware of the sitting bones widening on the in-breath and coming back in on the out-breath as well. And let's just find that posterior iliac spines round to anterior iliac spines pull. Let's gently just inviting that one to start with. Being aware of it, opening and widening the back. And pulling the legs into that spiral with the lower legs coming back and up, the lower ankles, medial ankles coming back and up. But not taking the thighs in, instead taking them in the other direction. And it also is also opening the ribs, and it's also opening the back of the armpits. And you might find from that that your elbows actually want to start coming outwards and forwards and down. And then we can take the direction, the backs of the knees to the sitting bones, and the sitting bones up to the front of the top of the sternum. Just adding that in as well. And the pubicoccygeals forwards, just in case that pelvis wants to wander backwards. So let's float to the wall. We're going to do a wall sit. So you'll either want to have shoes on or you'll want to have something that's non-slip. And And put your feet quite away from the wall. Let's bring my camera down so you can see. I'll spotlight myself at this point so you can see. So your feet are quite away from the wall, and just lean yourself back on the wall comfortably. And just continue with this breathing and spatial awareness. And as the posterior iliac spines continue to come round to the anterior iliac spines, and the ribs are also coming back and round, and the ribs at the back of the armpit are also coming back and round, the back will flatten on the wall. And then very gently take your knees forward. If there's a back and up, of course, up the spine on the out breath. On the in breath, everything is flattening against the wall. And on the out breath, you can go a little lower. On the in breath, it's flattening. And on the out breath, you can go a little lower again. And then we're going to send the heels into the ground. We're going to send the posterior iliac spines again, widening that pull round. So you get that pull to the ankle, back and up and in, but still the thighs are coming out, and send the heels down, as well as the psoas back and up to take you back up again. Don't come all the way, just come a little bit of the way and then come down again. Again, thinking that back and up, and that the pull round of the transverse abdominals, pulling round. And again, back and up with the ankles at the same time that's coming out of the back round. At the same time as send the heels down. So we've got this spiraling back and up that's also coming out of the back, and the heels down, because we're so much further forwards with the feet. We need this stronger action to get up, whereas normally we do this with the feet much closer in. So we're just using the back. Whereas now we really need the legs as well working. Again, just keeping it all engaged. And we're just going to go up and down a few times at your own speed, at your own pace. And you can try going much lower into a full sit, so that your legs are actually at right angles to each other and to the floor, lower leg to upper leg. And then again, can you find how to get up again out of these spirals? So we're really working the quads when we get that low down. You'll feel it in your quads. And just going down again. And finding that engagement of the legs. Engagement of the legs. Engagement of the legs. The legs are really doing some work here. Normally we do this just from the back, but here we are really working the lower leg particularly, and the quad muscles. But also, I think the hamstrings and the glutes as well are engaged, particularly at that first bit. See what you think. And it's coming out of the spirals, and the spirals themselves are coming out of the back. One more. Gently step away from the wall, bringing your feet a bit further in so that you can step away, and just take a walk around and see if that's really brought your torso up already. Anyone like to comment on that one before we go any further? Sorry. you want to say something? No. Okay, so let's get our chairs. And I'm going to do that again from chapter 10, which is again coming in and out of the chair. We didn't do this in TTO. I don't think. Again, using the legs, because in TTO we focused getting the back and up. But this is in chapter 10. So again, we're really taking really letting the leg spirals come out of the back so that the legs are working and the knees don't wobble. So many people, when they go into the chair, the legs are doing a little bit of a movement in and out. And just put yourself where you can see yourself in camera. I forget whether have we done this together at some point? Can anyone remember if we've done this? You don't think so, Sarah? No, I don't think we have. So put yourself where you can see your knees in camera and spotlight yourself if needed. And you're going to do what we've just done on the wall of getting these poles coming round and this back and up, you know, from the knees to the sitting bones to the top of the sternum. And so as these poles come round, the legs come into a spiral, they engage strongly, and then sending the knees away. Use your ladybird, of course, for a slight bend, and you're keeping those legs really working all the way to the chair. So this is not a light doing action. We're really experiencing the power in the legs this time, of how much the legs can work. As most people, I suspect, are underusing their legs. And I can't.
Do you allow your knees to go forward, or are you trying to keep them right above your ankles?
Let's watch this way. So, nope, the knees come forwards. Yes, we're not doing precise monkeys here. The knees come forwards. But what we're doing is we're stabilizing the knees, because you've got the inward spiral of the lower leg and the outward spiral of the upper leg. And between the two, it stabilizes the knee in a way that we don't normally achieve. Ah, are you hitting instability, Sarah? Sarah? Yes, good. So that shows what you're working with. Yeah. So just playing. Yes, there's yours coming in and out, Aida. Yeah. So just starting from that. Not bad. Yes, so you're engaging them and you're keeping them engaged all the way down. That's nice, Kazuyuki. That's keep them working all the way up again as well. Keep them working. Yes, you're also just going, Hannes. It's surprisingly difficult to keep the legs completely stable. Keep them toned, Mari. Keep them toned, keep them toned, keep them toned, keep them toned, keep them toned. Keep them toned, keep them toned, keep them toned. Yes, keep them toned, keep them toned, keep them toned. Yeah. Yeah, so yours coming in a little bit, Micah, but it's pretty stable actually. It's not bad, is it? That's can you feel the difference? Yeah. Anyone like to comment?
It seems like it will be very useful for students, but it'll take a while to get here.
Yeah, I mean, this is something to work on. We've done a lot with stabilizing the back, and then we say we missed this one because I just couldn't fit everything in. But it's quite humbling when one first does it. My knees were all over the place when I first did it.
It's really it's quite pleasurable And then once the knees quit wobbling, just to feel the distributed strength and how it kind of then in bringing that consciousness to the spirals of the legs, the movement's easier and it really shoots the torso up.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think we do a lot of work. I mean, I was first working with this about 4 or 5 years ago, and it made me realize how much we work with the torso strength, and actually we then underpower our legs. And it's really something to get these legs really working all the way down and all the way up. Yeah. So, Hannes.
Yeah, might be the same. I realized as I sit on the stool and I move forward with the torso, the moment I get the legs working, it's just the same like staying back, not falling forward, and it's the same like pulling the PSIS round to the ASIS.
Yes.
It's just one thing.
Yes, it comes out of the same movement, doesn't it? Let's come back for a moment to what we did last time, which actually I did in a rather impossible way, sitting on the floor. We did that one on the floor where I got you to find your core, lean forwards, and then lift a leg. And it was very difficult. So let's do it on a chair, which was Murray's suggestion. And so thank you, Murray, for this one. If you put your legs forwards on the chair, and again, find that back and up, that itself will draw you forwards. So you've got a flat back forwards, and then engage the psoas to lift your legs slowly, and then equally slowly put it down. And I hope in this position you can actually all find a leg lift. And again, the idea is not to let the back round, but to just keep engaging that core. So you're lifting with the psoas. You're using the psoas both to lean you forwards and to lift the leg. So this is real strong core work that you might not want to do today, Sarah. That's it. Go so much further with my left leg than my right leg. But at least I can do both of them in this position. And what happens if we add in that thought of PSIS to ASIS and leg spirals as we're doing this? Remembering to breathe. Breathing from the base will help. Breathing.
I find it kind of painful on the butt. It's easier for me to do it on the floor. Like it cuts off the circulation somehow. I've tried to go a little forward, a little back.
If you can do it on the floor, you go for it on the floor. I'm going for the chair because so many people couldn't do it on the floor last time. And I mean, I can do it on the floor, but I can get a bigger movement on the chair. We're working towards it on the floor. But it's harder. I think it's harder to get the lean forwards and the movement on the floor. And you can also go for a lower stool. So I think what we're going to be working with is taking the chair down, as it were, till we're at floor level. One can grade it downwards and try a lower stool. So it's getting that ASIS coming round and the psoas coming back and up to do the lean forwards. And then seeing if you can pull that leg up and under, but without letting it bend. That's a nice movement, Mari. Try doing it slower down now, see if you can come up for 2 seconds and down for 2 seconds. It's always very important to make the down movement as long as, or if not longer than the up movement, because the down movement is the eccentric one. And the muscles are working really hard on the down movement. Sore thighs, Hannes. We've only just started. Okay, when you stand up from there.
So if I do the down movement slow, I got lots of work in the quads.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, you can. I really feel this one up here. Do you? Yeah.
As I was trying to do it as slow as I can, and there was just like the quads doing this.
Quads cramping in. Yes, I mean, I think the more we do it, the more the psoas will strengthen. And the quads can, I mean, the quads will be working, but we don't want them as the dominant muscle.
Yeah.
We want the psoas as the dominant muscle. So as you, yes, Aida.
So if I am doing the rotation from the posterior to anterior iliac spines and then lengthening up the psoas, this is interesting. Maybe this is why my back hurts. I can lift my left leg a little bit, but not my right leg at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I notice as I try and lift it is that my torso comes upright and then I start feeling it in my lower back.
Yeah, yeah. So this is really heightening weakness, instability, lack of flexibility, and so on. Yeah, my right leg is a lot less mobile than I can get it up in this position, but it's a lot less fluid than the left one. And then, as you say, the back wants to tilt back. So that's why we're really seeing if we can hold it forwards. And it doesn't matter if the leg doesn't lift. What matters is that you engage the muscle, even if you don't get a movement out of it. Just keep the muscle engaged and then let it go again. And you will be working the flexibility. Does that make sense? Because what we don't want is that back rounding.
And I could feel that back rounding, that coming up there, is what's causing the pain in the back. So
that's interesting. Yeah, so that's the movement you want not to happen. Yeah. So you're really working that core, because if you remember, the core is made of the psoas muscle working on one side of the spine and the erector spinae working on the other side of the spine, and you're looking to sort of almost lock that in, as it were. I mean, that's a ridiculously un-Alexander phrase to use, but we do want that, yeah, rock solid, for want of a better phrase. We want it stable. Let's have a better phrase. Stable is a better phrase. Not flipping out. So come back from there, come back to your legs that we were doing a moment ago. And now we're putting that core engagement in as well. So we've got the core engagement, we've got the back and round, we've got the ankle screwing. This is widening. Pubococcygeals, of course, staying forwards, which will, if the pubococcygeals don't go forwards, you'll lean forwards further. You might try adding pubococcygeals forwards and see if you stay more upright in your sit. And keeping those legs engaged with everything going on. And then again, everything going on to come up. And what's the difference? We're getting a little bit more stability in the legs or a little bit less.
One thing that I'm finding with this posterior pull is it's great for this, but I get this real sense of tightness and discomfort in my upper back. And
Are you taking the upper back this way as well?
I think so.
Okay. Are you pulling up to there or?
I don't know. It might be just because it's opening more and pulling, but I don't know. Because I haven't really used this posterior pull before.
Right, okay. Have you missed the classes while we've been doing that one?
Yeah, I haven't made it through that yet.
Okay, right, okay. So do you want to be caught up to speed or have you got it? That we're taking, instead of taking the iliac spines that way, we're taking it that way. So it's the same
Yeah.
muscle. We just
That
do
makes sense.
in the other
Yeah.
direction. Yeah. Yes.
But somehow I feel like I'm overdoing in my upper back when I add that.
Yes. So this is where letting it breathe comes in, just sort of letting it. I mean, I have a tendency, the minute I go into the shoulder pulls, I tend to overdo this bit, and it's because I've lost touch with the breathing in here. And for me, when I remember to let this bit, even though it's working, I let it to be dynamic.
Yeah.
Then everything else in the back tends to soften. So I'm letting the upper back pulls come out of the lower back pulls in a way that ripples into action rather than, you know, goes like a power lifter.
Yeah,
Does that make a difference?
I think so.
Yes, okay. Anyone finding their knees are more or less stable? Micah, yes.
What I realize is that I have quite a disbalance in the left leg.
Quite a what in the left leg?
A disbalance, kind of.
Yes.
The left leg always wants to go in. The same when we go into squats, it's the same movement, no? And so what I realized is also that the upper back, or that everything kind of tries to compensate this inward pull of the left knee. So yeah, I'm also searching for how to do it and not to overdo the rest of the muscles, you know? So
yes,
yeah.
Okay. Something that's just sorted my right leg that wants to do that is, and you've probably not seen it yet, but I've just done month 9 stairs. Hannes has seen it for the Goldie Club. And it involves, I could use this safely as a step. Just thinking that, let's just try a hip lift where we're doing hip lifts either side. That's it. And now when you go that way, put one hand in the air, as we've done before. And now let your fingers lead you onto your toes.
Yeah, we have done that.
We've done that before, yeah. And staying on the other side, we've done that before. Now, let's find this should be stable enough. But if I now let myself step, I'm going to leave my heel down, and then I think that up that side as I step up. You see what I'm doing? So I started with my heel. I put my ball of my toe on the step and let my heel drop down. And then I'm thinking that up line to take me up the step. Okay. So can you find pile of books? This is a nice one for leg strength. And for me, it really stabilized. I'm now going up and down stairs like this all the time, and it's really stabilized my glutes, my side glutes. And that's helping the knee. So you start with, you're on the book, so you just put your ball on the foot, your heel is way down, and if you're not careful, the knee will want to fall in that point if it's looking forward. You see, if I'm not careful, my knee will fall in. So that's why I need this going, this hand to keep that stable. And now send your, up goes the up goes that dramatic toe push that is in line with the top. And again, keeping that PSIS to ASIS, but the ball of the big toes on the foot. And so you're using that to stabilize the knee. That's it. So you want to get right up onto tiptoe. That's it. Right up onto tiptoe. Yeah. How's that on the hip and on the knee?
That's good.
That's good.
I'm gonna try that out.
Yes, because this is totally stabilizing the whole of the lateral line. Okay. And that's stopping, and that will stop the knee falling in. Because the minute it's these adductors that let that happen. So it's like as long as this is working, the knee has to stay out.
Okay. I'm gonna try. I'm actually not sure where this disbalance comes from. Because I think it's the whole line, and I'm not sure if it comes from the spine, you know, or from the neck, or I don't know. But I'm gonna work with that.
Yes, work with it, because I mean I think these patterns are deep. I mean I know mine goes right up to my right eye. It goes up to the back of the heart. It goes into the liver. It goes down to the big toe. It goes to this side of the jaw. It runs, these lines run through everything. But I think working the physical body really helps the the organs and everything else. So see what you find with that. Everyone else managed to find this all right? This dropping down of the heel, so that you really have the heel below the level of the step, and then you're pushing up and extending up at the same time, and the whole foot really activates. That's it. Yeah. It's a real new way of doing hip lifts. And again, as Hannes was saying at the beginning of the session before everybody else comes in, if one hasn't got the lower back, the upper back up and round with this as well, then when you do this, it will pull you over backwards, because you really do go very vertically up. So this really needs, the upper back really needs to be on top of the lower back, so that, because otherwise you'd fall back down your staircase, which would not be advised. So these roundings of all these parts of the back, and then up you go. And the whole extensor chain, you can feel the whole extensor chain in the leg opens out together. So it's not a sense of pushing in the quads. It's at the back of the leg opens.
But you really go high, high, high on tiptoe, right? On the book.
In this game, yes.
Yeah,
in
okay.
This game. Yeah. Yes, I'm just using it to. But if you're going up the staircase, you need to be going up.
Yeah.
Yeah. The article by Lawrence Jones, for those of you who got the Alexander Journal, I don't know who gets that. It's a stat publication. I don't know whether, yes, I don't know whether anyone else of you will get that. Do you get that? No, it's stat. He did a lovely article about walking, in which he said that he had lessons with Goldie, and he used to watch her. He would be going up the stairs behind her, and he'd watch her going up the stairs, and he said that's how she went upstairs. So with the whole leg really working. So having done that again, let's come back to our chairs and just again, try that. Around, everything coming back and up, the back spirals. And again, just being aware of those legs, pubicoccipitals forward so you don't bend too far forwards. And again, being aware of the stability of the knees. Working them, working the legs, 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 and then working the legs some more. What are you aware of?
As I go down, so I really liked the direction, doing the hip lift on both sides equally in the same time. And you say, I think, activate your hip stabilizers, something like that.
Yes.
As I go down and I do this, so I'm lowering down to the chair and I'm sending the hip lift down as an opposition, and in the same time screwing the ankle and getting the toe into the ground just for stabilizing. So get the opposition of the movement down. This works for me very stabilizing the legs.
Yes, so the hip lift is going down, the heel is going down, but the medial ankle is coming back and up.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same coming up. The heel goes down, but the medial ankle comes up. Yes, it's finding that separation between the heel and the ankle is interesting. You okay there, Sarah?
I was going to make a comment.
Please do.
Just that I've been noticing a lot of tension in my legs, just usually, and thinking about doing less with my legs. And so now with this instruction, I'm finding like the psoas engagement, that's the deep engagement, and that it's not the superficial, obvious muscles. I'm finding a similar feeling in my legs of engagement of like deeper stabilizing muscles, but I'm still able to let go of the big, obvious muscles of my thighs and, my calves. So it's interesting because for me in particular, it's been very interesting to notice and to, all the tension that I've been holding in my legs. And it's of course, it's not going overboard now into collapse. So there's an engagement, but there's something else that's deeper that's engaging.
Yes. Yes. Or is it that the muscle tone is engaged more equally, I wonder? Rather
yes,
than
that makes sense.
The front of the quads gripped and something else gripped and other bits not working, whereas now you're getting a more equal engagement.
Right. The butt, tight in the butt and the quads. And now, yes. So, lengthening and working as they're lengthening.
Yes. 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 Nice. Anyone notice that their knees are getting more stable as we do different things here? By the way, just wondering. Micah?
Yes, they are.
They are. Good. Yeah.
I have another short question.
Please.
Because I'm working a lot with all that in walking and running in the woods, jumping upstairs and all that, and I feel the upper butt and the lower back is so much more toned, and also this whole area here. But I'm wondering, and it starts to hurt kind of not constantly, but I'm wondering how you stretch them, or what you do to stretch and to kind of because it's kind of, the muscle tone is getting more equal, but also building up, you know, and if it's really new muscle stuff which is being worked on, it needs also the balance of stretch, I think, and maybe it's an idea for another session.
I don't know. I mean, nothing like yoga, but if it's working, if it is actually in balance, why does it need stretching? Well, there's nothing like a forward bend for stretching it all. You know, a good forward bend, but even if you are doing that stretching, I would still engage it. You know, and we're not just sort of flopping into forward bend, and still do that, you know, whole engagement into forward bend so that it's getting stretched from an active place rather than a passive place, because it's tempting to think, you know, I've worked the muscle now, how do I lengthen it and switch it off? Most stretching is passive. And I think one wants those, but I mean, forward bend, I think you can't get a bigger stretch from that on those muscles at the back. But let's do a plank, a side plank rather, because that's a different way of stretching it. And it's also working different muscles of the legs. So, yoga mat out. And so here we're working, we're going to be working the spiral line, of course, with the obliques, but we're also working the lateral line again, I think, with this, because again, we've got my lower leg is working pretty hard, and again, I'll do that one today, but so take your time. Again, just finding that breath, PSAS round to ASAS, core engaged, and up you come. Letting it breathe. But the legs are working too. You think of this as just an oblique exercise, but we are again working, I think, the whole lateral line. And stay in it for as long as is comfortable, or go up and down, whichever you're moved to do. I overdid this one yesterday, so I'm not going to do too much of it today. And then when you're ready, do the other side. So we're aware of the obliques working in this. You might also be aware of your gluteus medius, of the IT band, of the peroneus muscle down the outside of the leg. They're all working like fury. Okay, so here's a fun one. This will need a floor that you can slide on. So those of you, so take your yoga mat away, and if you're on carpet, you want socks on, because what we're going to do is come into a plank, but with my toes lengthened out, and I'm going to use my core to pull my legs in. Make sure your toes will slide, and you're opening out the toes. You haven't got your toes tucked under. You've got your feet lengthened at the back. So we're really working the strength of the top of the foot now as well. And then you're using your core. That's it, Mari. You're using your core to pull it in, and then let it slide out. You can let your knees bend when you get closer in. So using the core, just like we were doing sitting on the chair to pull the leg in, but now we're pulling the whole Have the legs up, and you can pull your legs in and then let them lengthen out. Or you can let it come high. And the whole move, the whole move of it is this. Pulling the legs in, sliding them through, coming into a back plank, coming back, crossing the legs over. This is the tricky bit. Practice this one for a week or two, and back again. So, which is great fun. Have you done that
You
before?
have short arms. Can you do that on top of blocks and your hands?
Yes, but I think I'm not. You'd have to. The blocks would have to be pretty secure. Yes, you can. It's the fun of getting your legs through. That's it. So, how are you doing, Aida? It's a pretty strong one. This one.
Get one leg at a time.
One leg.
I feel challenged. Also, I feel the weakness in the shoulder I dislocated earlier this year.
This is a very strong movement, so skip this one if you need. It's a very, very strong movement, this one.
It's very strong here too. I felt like this time when I did it, I could overdo it in here, in front.
Yeah. No, this needs a fair amount of stability to do, particularly if you do the full go through. But it's a fun one if you can find it. Even if you just do a little bit. Even if you can just do a little bit. And I'm wondering if even one could, speculating here, lean on a chair even and just do it that way. It would be a gentler way of doing it. And it's just doing a little bit of it, as much as is comfortable. Oh, it's quite tough on the elbows. You might want a cushion on your chair. That's it. Yay, go for it. Yes. Yeah, that's it. The first times I did it, my butt touched the ground every time. And then within a couple of days, I could do the whole thing. So it took a few days before my body worked it out. So,
Can you show it one more time all the way through? It means you have to do it again.
Yeah, it was a while before I could get my legs through coming back. So, pull up, feet up together to go in, back up into back plank, pull in again, cross the legs over. I've got my hands wider this time so it's easier. And I always forget to take my head down whereas it needs to be forward. So pulling in, cross over as you come through into back plank and back and up. Yeah. It's strong. Okay, let's come. Oh, I'm puffing after that. Let's do a book path at this point. Let's lay our books out. So very close together, just in a line today. Okay, and just sort of walk it once. You've done some nice little steps there. Okay, so let's go into a nice deep monkey by pulling in that core, letting the psoas, the posterior iliac spines come around to the front iliac spines, the whole back opens into the core, and pull yourself into a really flat back, knees bent monkey. And then let's see what it's like to walk the book path from here, keeping that core engaged and the back flattening and widening. You might notice that the feet have to be quite active. I'm finding I'm landing on my toes rather than my heels. Can I land on my heels? Yes, I can, but I wobble. So really have to work your core. Yeah, that's it. Nice, Micah. Yeah. Let your arms hang, Kazuyuki. Let your arms hang. Make the core hold you up. It's not the arms stabilizing you, it's the core and the legs. Yeah. Now, okay there, and let's now do a bit of ballet. So we're going to stand on one book, and you're going to, with a foot, but we're going to have the torso upright now, and you're going to bring one leg in and unfold it forwards, no higher than you can go, down, and oops, I haven't got enough room to the side, and again down, and to the back, I haven't got room to the back either, and then down again and step forwards onto the next book, and not wobbling in the arms, but taking it through the core, and same again, bend, and unfold it all, bend, and unfold it all to the side. Bend again, you'll have to regather into the core each time in order to keep the stability. Open to the back, bend again, and take it forwards onto the next book. And again, bend down and up. Bend down and up. I'm not doing this in turnout, but if you want to do it in turnout, you can. And when you've done 3 sides, take a step forward with a nice weight transfer. And again, bend and open. So again, we've got this, that the core stays engaged, and that allows the legs to lift. Just like when we were doing the leg lift earlier. It's that engagement of the core which releases the leg out into movement. One more. Bend and lift. Bend. Fold and unfold. Oh. So we're really working the fact that as the leg unfolds, we're not letting the back arch, we're keeping that core engagement so that the back stays wide and engaged. So, yeah. And when you're ready, step off the books and just try a walk and see what that feels like. Give us again more sense of presence in the legs than we're used to. We're picking up our books in low monkey as well. You can use your low monkey walk as you pick up your books. And let's just finish with the Tai Chi standing pose. I'm not a Tai Chi expert by any means, but so I do it my way, as it were. But so it's like the wall squat that we did at the beginning, but yet there's no wall. So we're just going to be aware of those engagements, engagement, and the feet grounding, and then we're letting the legs slide away forwards while the back stays engaged, just as if we were against the wall. We can bring the arms out, and we're just going to stand here for a couple of minutes. Just release, letting those legs, the heels are releasing down into the ground, the big toes are releasing down into the ground. The inside ankle, on the other hand, continues to come back and up. The pulls are widening the lower back like a jellyfish on the in-breath. You okay there, Ida? Backs of the armpits are staying back, the ribs are staying back. They too are widening. Being aware of the breath widening into the backs of the arms, and that will make it easier to keep the arms up. So the elbows are being extended forwards, perhaps on every in-breath. Back is widening. Being aware of points of tension. And just let the breath nudge you up against them like waves lapping against a child's sandcastle as the tide comes in. And each breath just nudges away a little bit of the tension, just like the waves slowly wash away the sandcastle. Just keeping that sense of the core coming back and up, the back widening, the buttocks are widening with the breath. Whole torso is widening. The neck is part of it too. The neck is part of the dynamic movement that happens with every breath. Good idea, Aida, to do it against the wall. That's great. Being aware of parts of your back going out of tone, and just seeing if you can engage them back into tone. Particularly the ribs, watching for whether the ribs come out of tone. Whether you can stay upright. And just do another 30 seconds, and that's probably enough. Okay, Coming up without losing contact with the legs. See how easy it is just to sort of pull up and pull off the legs. Again, give yourself a shake if you need, take a little walk around. And then let's come and sit down. Oh, anyone got any comments? Were you okay there, Aida? They're all very silent.
I don't have any comments about this, but before we go, I'm so interested in hearing about this Berlin thing you're going to do. It sounds amazing.
The Berlin one. The how-to at the Congress.
Wow, it's so cool.
Yeah, they've invited me to be one of the 5 main presenters, which is just amazing. So so I get a 2-hour slot every day, which is just which is really nice. So Rosella's on my side because she did.
Will it be streamed? Do you know at all, or?
I've no idea actually what they'll do. I know they've got backup plans for if we're not allowed to meet in person, but if it is all live, whether it will be videoed, I don't know. Will you?
I just heard they are not wanting to do any online version of it.
Yes.
They don't want to do that.
No, it's be there. Yes, I think I can see where they're coming from. And we've all lived online for 2 years, and it would be lovely if we all were able to land in the same space. Yes. Is there any chance you can come, Sarah? It's a long way for you. Yeah, fat chance. And the Congress never comes to South America. Yet. Yes. So yes, I mean Berlin's with that. Kazuyuki, will you come? No, again, it's too far. Yeah, it's too far. Aida?
I don't know. We have family in the UK, so perhaps we can combine a trip.
And anyone interested in my retreat in Ireland?
Interested, of course.
Which one?
Well, there's the Philip Shepherd one, and then there's my one, as it were. They're both mine, but the other ones I'm sharing with Stuart and Sinead. Whereas,
did you send something about it?
You should have had a mail shot.
I have to check it.
Yeah. Anyone who you didn't get it, Micah?
I have to check. Did you do something together with Philip Shepherd?
Well, I and my friends Stuart and Sinead, who live just down the road from me, we all discovered Philip Shepherd's work independently and said to each other, I'm studying this guy called Philip Shepherd. And we all went, well, so am I, which was just quite staggering, actually. And we all did the TEP training. So now we're going to lead a deeper dive workshop for 5 days. And in March, the end of March. So it will be a chance to do the weekend workshop and take it a lot deeper in over 5 days in this wonderful place that's right on well, it's not right on the ocean, it's a few miles back from the ocean, but we will get out to the ocean every evening.
But in Ireland?
In Ireland, yeah, it's right next to the Cliffs of Moher, if you've heard of them. They're pretty famous, and the Burren, which is just amazing landscape. So and then at the end of April, I'm doing a week there for anyone who wants to come and do all this work intensively for a week. So I'm hoping some of you, and that's partly why I made it 7 days, that it's worth actually getting on an airplane for 7 days. And you can fly, Americans can actually even fly into Shannon. Germany, you have to fly into Dublin, but it's still easy enough. And so think about it. I'll be telling you more about it next year. And yeah, so I'm hoping some of you might come. But I know it's with Berlin as well. It's a lot. Yeah. So, and the book study club, of course, starts again at the end of January for anyone who's not in the book study club and is thinking of joining. That starts again then as well. So, okay, anything more to say about today?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
There's something about all of this that helps me to do less in my foot, but also engage it in a way that helps my big toe joint.
Yeah.
Because every time I take a step, the first step, it clicks, because it's developing arthritis, but and it doesn't hurt, but it just drives me mad. But when there's some way that everything's engaging in a way, it doesn't happen.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because
Yeah.
in theory, that might stop the arthritis happening. Have you actually seen arthritis coming on an X-ray?
No, but I can tell that there's a click, there's an osteophyte growing in there, I can tell.
Right.
But it
So
doesn't hurt.
So there has to be a reason why that osteophyte's growing.
It can just be an aging thing. It happens to everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could be. You're right. It could be. and for the longest time, I walked with that foot turned out, and it's
Yes.
taken this whole time that we've been working to bring it back to parallel.
Yes.
Bring it to parallel, and since it's come to parallel, that started.
So
Which was
something's
interesting.
adjusting.
Yeah, for
Something's
sure.
adjusting there.
For
Something's
sure. But I think I'm
adjusting.
finally, like, this has helped to engage the legs in a way that I can come up off of there, I think, somehow.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure how, but
Yes, it's looking different actually. It's
something.
standing
Yeah.
there. Yeah, they're looking more present.
Hmm.
Yeah, lovely.
But less doing also.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
it's this
More open.
lovely, lovely combination that everything's working harder, but not in a doing way. Brilliant. And that, at least in principle, should be able to open out what's ever happening in the big toe. I'm not going to make promises here, but see what happens. Yeah. Hannes, you wanted to.
So the leg work is very helpful. Also sitting, I did it once when I had to sit for 1.5 hours in a concert, and it made sitting so much lighter. And I think it's just the same with getting up and down, and all this engagement of the legs we do this way. It's just missing if we don't. And so the back has to do the work. So that's why the back is so much lighter if we engage the legs. I mean, it's very clear.
Yeah.
But is this, so you said it's stabilizing the legs. I mean, this is what to do to stabilize the knees. I have a pupil,
yes.
she has huge problems. And so, so it's both activating both spirals.
I think so. That's the image that I've got, because after all, if the inner spiral is too activated, the knee falls in. And if the outer spiral is too activated, the knee falls out. So there has to be a place in the middle where they're both activated together, but in this opposite direction, that then stabilizes the knee in the middle. And you'd think it would just put a twist across it, but actually the knee's going, phew, I'm not being pulled. It must be stabilizing the ligaments, I guess, because we've got all these cross ligaments in there, and you want equal pulls on them. And we're all in our comfort zones and think that that's stable or that's stable, or we've got these different pulls going on, so that when we do equalize them, they can hurt for a bit, but because they're just rebalancing. But we want all the spirals balanced, and then the knee can stay stable and balanced. It's such a vulnerable point, isn't it? The knee.
And if the knees, people have damages in knees, like the crossing, they're just cut off and they try to stabilize it with other muscles, but might be the same work. What do you think?
I suspect so. You're thinking of Lawrence there. But because the muscles are still there, even if the ligaments are cut. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of people, for instance, who've got rods up their spines, and you know, how many muscles must they have cut to put those rods in? But yet you can get everything working and get that spine stabilized again. So, you know, don't give too much credence to the surgery. Just say the body can work, and let's see what happens. You know, again, we're not making any promises here, but it is amazing how it can work around a damage.
So my pupil, she had a machine or something to support from outside, and it was giving a bit pressure to get the knees more in, because they thought there is a position which will be less the bones attaching each other. And as I watched the pictures of the spiral line, I think it's just doing the same.
Yes.
So yeah, just try to activate it, and from different parts, from hip lifts, from big toe push, and all this.
Yeah, absolutely different games to activate it. How did you find it on the legs to work from that way up, by the way? Because it's gives a whole different feel to the legs to let the toes under that way. Anyone have a comment for the legs on that one? I think one has to really work the shin muscles almost there in a way we're not familiar with doing. I mean, we're not just working the psoas there, we actually are, I think, working the legs, but in a very unfamiliar way. But, you know, store that one. Yeah. Okay, well, have fun with all that, and have a wonderful Christmas. And we will meet again on, when is it, in January? 7th of January. Yeah, so have a great time. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're back all right, Aida? Your back's all right?
It feels better.
Oh, good.
It's really helpful. Being reminded of the posterior to anterior iliac spine, and that work on the wall was really helpful to build strength. I'm confused about the psoas and psoas directions and all that, but I think just playing with that wall will sort things out.
Right.
So I definitely feel better. Thank you, Penelope.
Good. No, I'm so pleased. That's great. Okay. Have a great Christmas, everybody, and see you in the new year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Bye.